Karen encounters have been recorded in many shocking ways. Some start as arguments, others turn into chaos, and a few end in disturbing acts that leave people stunned. In this video, we'll look at 5 of the most disturbing Karen moments ever caught on camera. Real stories that show how far these confrontations can go. It was December 26, 2020, the morning after Christmas. Inside the upscale Arlo Hotel in the Soho area of Manhattan, 14-year-old Keyon Harold Jr. and his father, Grammy-winning jazz musician Keyon Harold Sr., were on their way to breakfast. What should have been a calm holiday morning turned into a national incident. In the lobby, they were confronted by a 22-year-old woman named Mia Ponsetto, a former cheerleader from California. She accused the teenager of stealing her cell phone. The moment was captured on video and quickly went viral. Mia stood in front of the boy, pointing to the phone in his hand and insisting it was hers. His father began recording the encounter. In the footage, Mia could be heard declaring that she was not going to let him walk away with her phone. The hotel manager, instead of easing tensions, sided with Mia and asked to see the boy's phone. Keyon Sr. defended his son, explaining they had just come down the elevator together. He urged Mia to use the Find My iPhone app, but she continued to argue. When the teenager tried to walk away, Mia suddenly rushed at him, grabbing him around the waist. Security footage later showed her latching onto him and tackling him near the hotel's doors. Moments later, an Uber driver returned her phone. She had left it in his car. The video spread online, drawing strong reactions. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio called it racism, plain and simple. Activist Ben Crump joined the case, calling it an example of racial injustice. A rally was soon held in Manhattan, led by Reverend Al Sharpton and Keyon's mother, Kat Rodriguez. At the rally, Harold Sr. stated that had he not come down with his son at that moment, things could have gone very wrong. His son told ABC News that he was still shell-shocked, admitting that he did not know what would have happened if his father had not been there. Meanwhile, Mia returned to her hometown of Peru, California. On January 8, 2021, she gave a remote interview with Gayle King on CBS This Morning. She denied racial motives and insisted she was just trying to recover her phone. At one point, she cut King off, saying, "All right, Gayle, enough." Hours later, Ventura County deputies arrested her during a traffic stop. They said she refused to leave her vehicle and had to be removed. This was not her first run-in with the law. Weeks earlier, she and her mother were arrested at a Beverly Hills hotel after refusing to leave. Her mother allegedly struck an officer, while Maya was charged with public intoxication. In May 2021, she was arrested again for driving under the influence, later pleading no contest and receiving probation, community service, and mandatory counseling. Back in New York, prosecutors charged her with unlawful imprisonment as a hate crime. In April 2022, she accepted a plea deal. If she stayed out of trouble, completed counseling, and complied with her California probation, the charge would be reduced to a misdemeanor. Otherwise, she faced up to 4 years in prison. District Attorney Alvin Bragg called her actions outrageous and said he related personally to the case. Her lawyer said she was satisfied with the deal, while Ponsetto expressed regret and hoped her apology would be accepted. But many were not convinced. Ben Crump said the plea was highly disappointing. The Arlo Hotel also apologized, admitting their staff had mishandled the situation. For many, the case revealed how quickly false assumptions could escalate into danger. Without Keyon Sr.'s recording, the truth might never have been known, and it had all started with nothing more than a lost phone. It was the morning of May 25, 2020, in New York City's Central Park. Christian Cooper, a 59-year-old writer and editor, was birdwatching in an area called the Ramble. This section of the park is dense and wooded, and rules require all dogs to be leashed to protect wildlife. That same morning, Amy Cooper, a white Canadian woman and portfolio manager at the Wall Street firm Franklin Templeton, was walking her dog off-leash in the Ramble. Christian noticed and politely asked her to leash the dog. Amy refused. Christian later explained that he always carried dog treats. When owners ignored the leash rule, he would sometimes offer one, which usually made them leash their dogs quickly. When Amy refused his request, he told her that if she did as she pleased, he would do the same, but she would not like it. He then pulled out a treat and called the dog over. Amy panicked. She shouted at him, telling him not to touch her dog. She then took out her phone and dialed 911. Seeing how the situation was escalating, Christian began recording on his phone. In the video, Amy approached Christian and demanded that he stop filming. Christian calmly asked her not to come closer. She then told the dispatcher that an African-American man in Central Park was recording and threatening her, repeating the claim several times in a distressed voice while pulling her dog by the collar. Eventually, she leashed the dog, and Christian simply thanked her before ending the recording. By the time police arrived, both had already left, but the story was only beginning. Christian's sister posted the video on her Twitter account and he uploaded it to Facebook. The clip went viral instantly. On Twitter alone, it was viewed over 40 million times. This was the very same day that another shocking event, the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, was captured on video, sparking protests nationwide. Amy's actions drew heavy criticism. Many believed she had tried to use Christian's race to create fear, fully aware of how police have often treated black men. Franklin Templeton moved quickly. Within 24 hours, they announced she was no longer employed at the firm, saying they did not tolerate racism of any kind. Amy surrendered her dog to the shelter where she had adopted him after concerns arose over how she handled him in the video. The shelter returned the dog a week later after a veterinary check. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office charged Amy with filing a false police report, a misdemeanor with a possible penalty of up to 1 year in jail. She later completed a 5-session program on racial identity, and the charge was dropped in February 2021. By then, the damage was done. Amy became the target of online attacks, phone threats, and harassment. She was branded Central Park Karen, a label that followed her everywhere. She eventually left the U.S. for Canada. In 2023, she spoke out publicly, saying she still lived in fear, struggled to find steady work, and felt isolated. She said her reaction came from panic, that she was alone in a secluded area, and past trauma influenced her response. She insisted she repeated Christian's race on the 911 call only because of poor reception. In her words, her fear was genuine, though she admitted the consequences were serious. Christian declined to push for further punishment, stating that bringing her more misery would only seem like piling on. Instead, he used the moment to discuss larger issues of racial bias. His career continued to grow. In 2023, he published Better Living Through Birding, Notes from a Black Man in the Natural World, and began hosting National Geographic's Extraordinary Birder, which earned him a Daytime Emmy in 2024. He also wrote the DC comic It's a Bird, inspired by his Central Park experience. The incident also had a legal impact. In June 2020, New York passed a law making false police reports based on race or other protected categories a hate crime. The city's Human Rights Commission launched its own investigation as well. Amy later sued Franklin Templeton for wrongful termination, but a judge dismissed her case in 2022, and her appeal was rejected in 2023. She said she remained unemployed for long periods, living under the weight of the incident. Christian, meanwhile, continued to focus on his passion, birding, while also advocating for greater awareness around racial bias. For him, what began as a quiet morning in the park turned into something much larger, a chance to push for understanding and change. It was June 28, 2020, in St. Louis, Missouri. Close to 500 people filled the streets as the sun went down, carrying signs and chanting. They were part of the Black Lives Matter protests that swept across the country after the death of George Floyd a month earlier. That night, the group marched to the home of St. Louis Mayor Lyda Crewson. Days earlier, she had gone live on Facebook and read the names and addresses of residents, urging her to cut police funding, a move many viewed as endangering them. The march was organized to demand her resignation. To get there, protesters walked into a gated street called Portland Place. It was a private neighborhood filled with large historic houses. Among them was the home of Mark and Patricia McCloskey, both personal injury lawyers in their 60s. Their mansion was worth over $1 million. About 20 seconds after the marchers arrived, Mark emerged with a Colt AR-15 rifle, soon joined by Patricia with a handgun. Barefoot, they shouted private property and ordered the crowd to leave. Mark aimed his rifle toward protesters while Patricia waved her pistol, at one point stepping onto the lawn. No shots were fired, and officials said none of the marchers were armed. But live streams and photos spread quickly online, turning the couple into a national symbol, viewed by some as defenders of their home and by others as a threat to peaceful protesters. The next day, police opened an investigation into both the couple and the protesters. Trespassing charges were later dropped against the marchers, but Mark and Patricia faced criminal charges. On July 10th, police seized Mark's rifle. Patricia's pistol, which had been non-functional during the incident, was turned in by their former lawyer. Prosecutors reassembled it to prove it could fire, which became part of the case against her. Despite a video showing the gate intact when protesters entered, the McCloskeys claimed people had broken through it and that they feared they would be harmed. They said some protesters showed weapons, though police said there was no evidence of that. The case drew national attention as President Donald Trump, Missouri Governor Mike Parson, and Attorney General Eric Schmidt voiced support for the couple. On July 20th, Circuit Attorney Kimberly Gardner charged them with unlawful use of a weapon, a felony carrying up to 4 years in prison, stating that peaceful protest could not be met with intimidation by deadly force. By October 6th, a grand jury indicted them on 2 counts, exhibiting firearms in a threatening manner and tampering with evidence relating to Patricia's pistol. Governor Parson later promised he would pardon them if convicted. In December 2020, a judge removed Gardner from the case over a conflict of interest. A new prosecutor was appointed, and by June 2021, the McCloskeys pleaded guilty to misdemeanors. Mark admitted to 4th-degree assault and Patricia to intimidation. They paid fines of $750 and $2,000. Governor Parson pardoned them 2 months later. In 2022, the Missouri Supreme Court suspended their law licenses, placing them on probation for 1 year. They appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, but the court refused to hear it. Meanwhile, the viral photo taken by photographer Bill Greenblatt became one of the most recognized images of 2020. The McCloskeys even tried to use it on greeting cards before suing Greenblatt, saying the photo caused caused them humiliation. Mark later ran for U.S. Senate but only won 3% of the vote. In 2024, the couple asked for their criminal records to be cleared. A judge approved, and in July 2025, the Missouri Court of Appeals upheld it. On July 31st, police returned Mark's rifle, and he announced it on social media the next day. That ended the legal fight. What began as a protest march in the summer of 2020 left behind an image that spread across the country, sparking lawsuits, political battles, and debates that followed Mark and Patricia McCloskey for years. In September 2025, in Flower Mound, Texas, a quiet town north of Dallas-Fort Worth, a Hispanic DoorDash driver pulled over near a neighborhood to prepare for her next delivery. At first, it seemed like an ordinary day, but within minutes, her phone would capture one of the year's most disturbing confrontations. The video began mid-argument. Standing outside the car was 58-year-old Tanya Chadwell. She appeared angry, and her words explained why the clip would soon spread nationwide. Chadwell shouted that the driver was an illegal, accusing her of not living in Flower Mound and that she was door dashing. She questioned why the woman felt entitled to be there with what she called an illegal car. What happened before the recording remained unknown. But from the first moment, it was clear this was not confusion. It was open hostility. When the driver tried to respond, Chadwell cut her off, mocking her with a remark about not speaking English. The driver affirmed that she did, and Chadwell snapped back that she should speak it, telling her to go back to Mexico to speak her language. Her remarks repeated in circles, often ending with the phrase, "you know what," a habit that later became the focus of countless online jokes. She accused the driver of taking jobs and questioned her right to be in the area. At one point, Chadwell pulled out her own phone, recorded the woman's face, and circled the car to photograph the license plate. She then demanded to see the driver's license. The driver calmly asked if she was the police, but Chadwell avoided the question, repeating fragments like, "You know what? You're not supposed to be here." Through it all, the driver stayed composed. She kept filming, sometimes laughing in disbelief. The short clip was uploaded to TikTok and within hours had garnered hundreds of thousands of views. Outrage quickly filled the comments. One user questioned why people were filled with so much hate. Another remarked that Chadwell's bitterness had aged her 20 years, and for no reason. The video spread across TikTok, Instagram, and X, reaching millions. Political commentators, influencers, and activists reposted it. Even many conservative voices condemned the behavior, making it clear they did not support it. Then came a twist. Chadwell's daughter, Tay, posted on Facebook. She acknowledged that most people had likely seen the horrific video of her mother harassing an innocent civilian. Tay expressed that she was embarrassed and saddened, and explained that she had not spoken with her mother for some time because of the same aggressive behavior, particularly toward her Hispanic boyfriend. This showed that the actions caught on video were not new. They were part of a long-standing pattern. Soon, online users identified the woman as Tanya Chadwell, a Flower Mound resident. News outlets confirmed it, and the story gained even more attention. Community voices also stepped forward. A local restaurant owner released a video addressed to the driver, stating that the incident was a bad look for the town and a bad look for humanity. He assured her that she was loved, regardless of race, creed, or religion, and emphasized that Flower Mound supported her. That message went viral too, but this time for kindness. Still, the confrontation raised larger questions. One user pointed out the irony of living in Texas, a state built on Mexican land, labor, and culture, and then telling someone to go back to Mexico. Police confirmed no reports were filed, but Mayor Cheryl Moore released a statement. She said Flower Mound values inclusion, welcomes people of all backgrounds, and that the video does not reflect the town's principles. With about 80,000 residents, Flower Mound is known as calm and family-focused. But for many who saw the clip, the impression was very different. For the DoorDash driver, this wasn't just a viral video. It was her reality, sitting in her car, trying to work, and being told she didn't belong. That moment, recorded forever, revealed how hostility can appear in ordinary life. For some, it was an internet drama. For others, it was something much deeper. It was September 5, 2025, at Lone Depot Park in Miami, Florida. The Philadelphia Phillies were playing the Miami Marlins, and the night looked like any other regular season game. The stands were filled with fans, families, and kids hoping to catch a souvenir ball. In the top of the fourth inning, Phillies center fielder Harrison Bader stepped to the plate. He hit a solo home run into the left field stands, extending the Phillies' lead to 5-1. Fans erupted as the ball soared into the crowd. In that section sat Drew Feltwell, a Phillies fan originally from New Jersey who now lived in West Palm Beach. He was there with his wife and 2 kids, including his almost 10-year-old son, Lincoln. As the ball bounced through a few empty seats, Drew tracked it down and grabbed it. Returning to his family, he placed the ball in Lincoln's glove. Both father and son smiled. It was supposed to be a memory they'd never forget. But seconds later, a woman in a Phillies jersey stormed down the steps. She was not celebrating. She shouted, "That's my ball!" Startling Drew, she claimed it landed in her seat. Drew explained the seat was empty. She didn't care. The woman got close, yelled in his ear, and even grabbed his arm. His son still held the ball. With people watching and phones recording, Drew had to decide how to respond. Instead of escalating, he took the ball from Lincoln's glove and handed it to her. She walked away. The entire exchange lasted less than a minute, but cameras caught it all. The video went viral, and the woman was quickly nicknamed Philly's Karen. Online outrage exploded. Many criticized her for taking a ball from a child. Others mocked her behavior. Soon, internet users began trying to identify her, but that led to new problems. One of the first women accused was Cheryl Richardson Wagner. Strangers flooded her Facebook with angry messages, even though she wasn't the woman in the video. Cheryl, a Boston Red Sox fan, tried to joke it off, changing her cover photo to the Red Sox logo. But torment continued. Then a false rumor spread that the woman worked as a school administrator in Hamilton, New Jersey. It even claimed she was fired. Hamilton Public Schools had to post a statement denying it, even joking that any of their employees would have caught the ball barehanded instead. Despite these denials, the online search didn't stop. Names and faces kept circulating, but the real woman remained unidentified. Meanwhile, Drew and his family tried to move forward. In interviews, he explained that he had given up the ball simply to end the confrontation. He said they had gone to the game hoping to get a home run ball, and he thought he had done something great for Lincoln. However, because the woman was so loud and persistent, he just wanted her to go away. Drew also asked people online not to target her, clarifying that while someone who knew her could talk to her, he did not want anyone breaking into her house or doing anything extreme. Lincoln expressed his disappointment, admitting that he had not been very happy about having to give the ball away, but resigned himself by saying that they could not win. The Marlins later gave Lincoln a bag of baseball gifts, and Harrison Bader met him gifting a signed bat. The Phillies also gave the family a prize package and another meet and greet with Bader. A trading card company even offered $5,000 for the home run ball, but only if the woman signed it with, "I'm sorry." By mid-September, Phillies star Nick Castellanos said he saw not just a ball, but a frustrated woman who seemed to want to win for herself. His remarks sparked more debate. Even the Savannah Bananas baseball team joined in, posting a parody that compared her to the Grinch. But by the end of the month, her identity was still a mystery. No confirmed name, no apology. What began as a home run turned into a national spectacle. A moment that should have been about a kid's memory instead became a viral hunt, leaving behind strangers accused, families caught in interviews, and endless debates online. All from one ball hit in the fourth inning.